is my passion. This is what I prefer to do because the companies I was working for, they weren't following rules they should have been following or using the systems that they had to
Right.
help their employees be more efficient. So I started doing it for small business owners,
Mm-hmm.
and here we are.
Everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good day to you, wherever and whoever you are. I'm Oliver Perry, and today I have a very special guest, as all my guests are special. She is a premier VA leader, a CEO, a boss lady, a beast in her own right, in everything you want to have in your business. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Miss Jen. Jen, if you would please take a second to introduce yourself, and let's get into it after that.
Hello. All right. Awesome. So my name is Jennifer J. I am the Premier VA. You can find me on all my social media at the Premier VA. I create and set up systems and automations for business owners so that they can grow and scale their businesses from 6 to 7 figures and automate their income.
Nice. All right. So first of all, I apologize because I'm so used to talking to you. I just call you Jen. I never really say Jennifer or Jay for that matter.
Jen,
I
I
never.
haven't heard my full name in a minute. Jen is fine.
Okay. Fair enough. Cool. All right. So Jen, my first question for you: how did you get started in the VA and systems business? How did that come about for you?
Okay. So I started as a VA. So the VA business was actually brought to me in 2008, but I was a single mother. I needed to support my family, and it was just unsure. I needed the stability. So I did not take action at that time. And it wasn't until I had that aha moment where people were asking me to help them in their business because they knew my background, my family background of having a construction company. And I was the one who created the systems and the process and ran the office in that company. So people knew I had the basic structure and knowledge to run the insides of a company. So they would always ask me, and I said, well, let me just start a business doing this because I know how to start a business in a minute.
Right. Right.
So that's what I did. And people were starting to ask me to do things for them on the side. And I'm like, I need to start getting paid for this. And so I started doing it on the side. And I was still working a 9 to 5. And then it just became lucrative. And I got serious about it. And I said, this is my passion. This is what I prefer to do because the companies I was working for, they weren't following rules they should have been following or using the systems that they had to
Right.
help their employees be more efficient. So I started doing it for small business owners,
Mm-hmm.
and here we are. I end up leaving my job after I put automations in place to be able to run that thing while I was at work, so I wouldn't be at work on my phone like trying to sneak. And yeah, so we're
I
just
love it.
good from there.
So how did you? So you were working. Your family was in construction business, right? And you were
Mhm,
working the systems for the construction business. How
mhm,
did you not end up in construction though? Like I understand, you got systems and started doing that, but that
mhm,
allure of having family who's all in the same business and just makes it easier. I imagine that might have been a little
mhm,
bit difficult to kind of get past everybody. Hey guys, I'm gonna go do my own thing as opposed to construction.
mhm. Because my father and my brother don't listen to me. They don't do.
Okay.
So first of all, I'm a high C, right? You have
Okay.
to follow the rules. They don't follow the rules, so I can't not follow the rules.
Right.
So I went out on my own.
Right. Okay.
Now,
All right.
can I go back into construction if I wanted to? My brother is currently running that company right now.
Okay. Nice. Nice. So okay. So your systems, your brother and father wouldn't listen. You are a high
Mhm.
C, so you love to follow rules, which is exactly against what I do. I am high D, high I. I will do what
Mm.
I want.
But you are military. Come on, you have to follow the rules.
So that is, I think that is something that is a misconception, right? Like if you think about it, and this is just me, right? Just hear me out, hear me out, hear me out, bear with me, hear me out. So the traditions that we all follow now were established by somebody who didn't follow a tradition before. That makes sense. So somebody
Yeah.
had to say, "All right, I'm gonna do it like this," and that's what they did, and they kept doing it, and now that's become a tradition in itself. But that's me. It is what it is. I've learned to deal with it in the military life, but it is also partly why I suck when it comes to systems, because it just doesn't work. Which is again,
Yeah.
for any business owner that's out there, that's where you and your team comes in. So let's
Mhm.
dive into that piece. So you got finished doing systems with your family. You started doing systems of your own. For the systems that you had to put in place before you left your 9 to 5, how did you go about
Mhm.
establishing that layout, and what did you do? What's step one for you?
Okay, so step one, I was still a VA. So I was in a VA community. So
Mm-hmm.
I was aware of the systems, and just like we tell you hear every day what you're supposed to do in your business. I didn't listen. I knew of the systems,
Mm-hmm.
but I did not put them in place, and I was hard headed basically. It's because it was told to us, listen, put these systems in place now so that when your first client come, you aren't scrambling.
Interesting.
So what happened? That first client came and my heart was beating so fast and I was scrambling to put all of these systems in place. And that's literally what happened.
Right.
And the very first system that I ever put in place was the current CRM that I have,
Mm-hmm.
which was Dubsado, because it has automation. So people can fill out a form, people can book a call, people can do all of that with me without me being there. And then
Okay.
after the fact, I can onboard them, meaning I can send them a proposal, contract, and invoice. And when they take action on either one of those steps, I can have another step happen. Like if they sign the contract, then I'll
Right.
send them my W-9. If they pay the invoice, then that starts the whole process of what I need to get started on their project.
So then, really, the systems, it's not. It's like a funnel on the inside of your business. That makes sense. So like this, everything
It
flows in one
does.
way. Huh?
I'm stealing that now.
Oh, please,
it,
please. You know
it
what? That.
definitely
Uh huh. Yeah, so I'm trash with
is.
analogies, but that's probably the first analogy I've gotten that was I think was all right. All right. Yeah, but you can have
Yeah.
that. So, all right, so the systems are basically funnels that are within inside of the systems. But how
Hmm.
so what's always been perplexing to me is when you set up these systems, particularly when you're going
Hmm.
retroactively,
Hmm.
what makes
Hmm.
one system more important than the other? So, how would I know, okay, I need to go set up email versus I need to go set up ringless voicemail or whatever else it might be.
It depends on the individual business. So that's not a one size fit all answer because what may be important to your business may not be important to mine. So just like setting up email may not be important to the service based entrepreneur right now
Mm-hmm.
because they need to set up the system I just told you. They need to be able to have people book a call with them and give them information before they get on the call so that they know what their that call is about.
Okay.
So I always have to have a conversation before I recommend a system. But you know what's perplexing to you. You know what's keeping you up at night. You know what's keeping you away from being able to spend time with your family. And that's the
Mm,
system you need to implement.
right. Okay. So basically, then what the conversation is when you have that conversation with whoever the person you're talking to is, hey, what's the
Mhm.
most painful part about what you do? What's keeping you from having
Mhm.
that free time with the family? Interesting.
Mhm.
That's a really smart way of addressing it because that makes everything very clear from the beginning where you should start out, and then everything I assume from there falls into place. So
Right.
you're the queen of VAs, but you were a VA yourself, which makes you that much more dangerous, right? So I
Mhm.
used to think that VAs were just everywhere but the US, but you're telling me VAs are everywhere. They can be any in everywhere, right?
Yes, there are a million VAs in the US. Because and especially now because of COVID. So
Right.
think about my vision has always been to help people.
Mm-hmm.
to help people be able to know as a mother. Okay, so now I live in Atlanta, but I was in Cleveland. As a mother, you don't have to go outside and brush all of this snow off your car, put your baby in the car, drag them to the daycare,
Right.
and go to work to some job that some manager don't really care about you or what you have going on, and do this all over again every day. You can work from home. You can have your baby at home, save money on daycare. But what I found is that I was in competition with VAs in the Philippines and in other countries because you can get a VA for $3 an hour, which here I can't work for $3 an hour.
Right. Right.
And so what I found was that me saying that I'm a virtual assistant
Right.
was demeaning myself, because when people heard that, they were like, oh, I could just go get a VA from the Philippines.
Right.
And I'm like, well, that's not going to help me, and it's not going to help your business, and it's not going to help what I know that I could set your business up. So honestly, it really wasn't until, and this is the God's honest truth, till I got with Sleepless Nights,
Okay.
till I had my business molded into, you do, this is what you do,
Right.
because that's what I do. Every client that I worked for, that was like the very first step. Like, oh no, we have to get this chaos under control first. Let's
Right.
create first, and then I can just work in the. So now it's system so that you can hire, and then I can show you what that VA is supposed to be doing to work. So that's kind of how that started. But yes, I was a people, and so I staff. I different things. I did that person as a
Right.
leader.
Right.
I tell my staff, like I tell myself, I'm doing it. I'm there.
Right.
So yes.
Okay. So you're breaking up a little bit, but we're gonna keep going anyway, because this is the game. All right. So you have done all this stuff. You figure out how to put these systems in place. Now, what have those systems done? Let me rephrase that. What has been the most impactful system that you could go into any business right now and it changes the entire game for the business, no matter what the business is? What would that system be?
I would say it would be the email marketing active campaign,
Okay.
because everybody doesn't need the Dubsado. And the reason why I say that, did I break up?
No, you're good. Go ahead. Go ahead. You're good.
Because
I
I
got you
stopped on
paranoid. I
my
done made you
screen.
paranoid. My bad. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The reason why I say that is
Mm-hmm.
because my knowledge and skill set in implementing active campaign,
Mm-hmm.
you can do so much more with active campaign than just setting up email marketing.
Right.
It can truly automate your whole entire business. So like I have businesses being automated where if they have a subscription program, it's
Mm-hmm.
it's automating cancellations. It's notifying and tasking people when certain actions happen. So if a member sends a certain email or they take a certain action, it's going to notify people to do tasks based on that. If they cancel, or if they even if they join, it's going to segment them into different lists. It can send that out to a Google sheet
Mm-hmm.
on a Google Drive that an admin can manage. So it just does so much more than just email marketing. It also has a CRM pipeline. Now it's not as advanced as like your pipe drives or Salesforce or anything like that, but it has the ability to move people through a CRM system and track their leads through a sales pipeline and notify people at different points of that pipeline.
So what does all right, we're gonna break this down to the my level, what we like to call the dumb dumb level. We're gonna, we're gonna break this down as simple as possible. Can you
Mm-hmm.
explain what a CRM stands for, what it
Mm-hmm.
is, and what it really does for businesses and just the scope of what a CRM and how that helps so people really understand.
Yes. So, in my terms, I like to break this down in two ways. There are two CRM systems that you'll hear about. So, CRM stands for Customer Relationship Management, Customer Relationship Manager. It manages the customer relationship,
Right.
basically,
Right.
whether it's sales or whether it's operations. So, when you hear me refer to the CRM in Active Campaign, it's specifically for sales. So when it's specifically for sales, it's only going to give you sales data, meaning this client came in as a lead and it went through this process on this journey. It hit these data points. Those data points are usually what you have set up. So you can say a person is a lead and then until they make contact. And when they make contact, they move into another phase. So maybe that could be the discovery phase. They schedule a call. Okay, now they're in a different spot on that pipeline.
Right.
Then once you talk to them and they become a client, now they move to the deal one stage now
Mm-hmm.
on the pipeline because they you won the deal. And then you can actually move them into a whole nother pipeline if you wanted to. But that's the sales pipeline. So it's tracking the person, the time that they came in, the time that it took you to convert them from a lead to a contact. So that's the
Okay.
sales part of it.
Okay.
The customer relationship management platform like Dubsado, HubSpot,
Mm-hmm.
Zoho, those allow you to get more intricate with keeping information. So now we have information as opposed to data. You can like if I meet with you, I have a whole report on you if I took notes. Now I can take notes and somebody can pull that up and say, oh, she met with Ali on this date. This is what they discussed, and they can pick it up from there. So
Wow.
that's kind of the difference because it holds the data information of what you want to put in there as far as like
Right.
notes on that person and what happened.
Right. So then, really, the CRM is universal. It could be used in, say, a podcast. It could be used to, manage people and all that. Great. That's awesome. Okay. Fantastic. So how do you know what a good CRM is and what one isn't? Like when you look at systems like PropStream, Propelio, and all these other, in real estate at least, they got all these other
Mm-hmm.
systems that you use, but you always
Mm-hmm.
know there's one that may be better than the other. What to you
Mm-hmm.
makes a good CRM system and a bad one?
So for CRMs, it's not what I think, it's what you need. So
Okay.
I always tell everyone, what no matter what system it is, make a systems wish list. What do you want this system to be? So I dabbled in transaction coordination for a minute, right? And so when I did that, I went through so many different systems. So every transaction coordinator uses a different system. Some of them use Monday.com. Some of them use TC Workflow, which I was using, which I like. Some of them use Trello, and it
Okay.
worked for them. Some of
Right.
them just use Excel spreadsheets, and that worked for them. So it's not about on that level what is the best system. It's
Mm-hmm.
about what works best for you, your workflow, and your business. Now, if you want automation applied to it, then of course I'm going to recommend the ones with automation.
Right.
That's just that. But as far as what system works, it's based on what you need. My motto is we apply the systems to your processes and not the other way around.
Mm, okay. You apply the systems to the process, not the process to the systems. That makes sense. Okay, so you talked a little bit earlier about sleepless nights. Now, I know
Mm-hmm.
what that is, but I think obviously that was important to you as far as your evolution. Can you tell me a little bit about that and what it did for you as far as yourself and your business and helping you go to that next level?
Yes. So, as an entrepreneur in Cleveland, Ohio, I felt alone. I
Right.
felt nobody understood what I was going through. Nobody understood my business. I really didn't have a lot of good resources that I can go to get the help I need. Like, how should I be pricing? How should I position my business? How should I be marketing? Those type of things. So when I came into Sleepless Nights, which was an online community of entrepreneurs that were pretty much all over the world and met every morning, that community embraced me and took me in. And first of all, I was amazed because it's a community with so many entrepreneurs that show up every morning. And at the
Right.
time, they were meeting every morning on Sunday and Wednesday nights. And so it was just amazing. And that became a habit of mine for 3 years. So when I got into that community, I was a virtual assistant. I wasn't pricing right. I didn't position my business correctly. And I really didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have it together like I was supposed to. I had the systems in place, but that was about it. And so the different people in that community embraced me, took time out to meet with me separately and walk through what I should be doing, how I should be positioning myself, what I should be charging.
Right.
And not only did they do that, they also followed up, with me on it and just didn't leave me out there. So
Right.
that impacted me so much to the point where I was like, I have to be around this environment. So when I kept seeing David Sheehan say, "Oh, we're going to the e complex, pull up, we're having entrepreneurship 101." And I'm like, what is that?
Right.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to be there. I need to be there. I made and this is before I was even working with David. I made the plan that when my daughter became 18 and she graduated from school,
Mm-hmm.
I was going to move to Atlanta because I needed to be in that environment with those people because I was being drained in Cleveland and not supported. And so, yep. And here I am 3 years later, work with David and in Atlanta.
So we're gonna get into that because that happened recently, right? You moved recently.
I moved recently,
Oh
yes.
boy. All right, so we're gonna get into that in a bit. I do want to go back real quick. You mentioned your daughter, and I think it's something
Hmm.
that's really, really important that we should go over because
Hmm.
for women of all shapes, sizes, creeds, and colors, entrepreneurship I feel like is a little bit more difficult because
Hmm.
as the mother, you're expected to be, this nurturing figure. You should be there all the time, especially when you're a single mother. It's a lot
Hmm.
harder, and shout out to single fathers as well who also going through
Hmm.
this. But for a single mother, it's to me it's a little bit more tougher. How did you deal with all the stuff that came with just being consistently feeling like you were not just overwhelmed? All this stuff is happening, like you said earlier, until you figured out those systems and where to put those in place. You were running with your head on fire. How is as a mom, as a woman, how did you, as an entrepreneur, how did you deal with all that? How did you handle that stuff?
At first I didn't handle it very well. Because remember in the beginning, I was still working the 9 to 5. So I was working from 9 to 5, then I would come home from 6 to 10
Right.
and work in my business. That always turned into 6 to 11 or whatever. And so then I would have to find time to help my daughter with her homework. And I had 3 daughters. So I had to take time to help my youngest daughter because she was still in school with her homework,
Right.
find time to be there for the other ones, answer phone calls, talk about life lessons that they were having, and still keep my head together to
Right.
figure out how I was going to continue to provide. Is there enough money coming in? How do I get out here and get more clients? That's always a thing. So it was not easy. It was not easy, but I've always been the type of person who could figure it out.
Mm.
I would figure out everything. So I just always figured it out. Emotionally, I really didn't have that much. I
Right.
can tell you these past 2 years
Mm-hmm.
were the most emotional and trying and entrepreneurial roller coasters in my business than it was in those beginning years because probably I didn't know any better.
What do you
But
mean?
yes, so
What do you
as a
mean when you
mother,
so
it
you
was
said you didn't
easy.
you said you didn't know any better, Jen? What did you mean when you said you didn't know any better?
So when we first start out, like remember I told you I wasn't pricing right.
Right.
So I didn't know any better. I didn't know my prices weren't right. I thought that's what I was supposed to be doing. So
Mm-hmm.
remember, a lot of my story is tied to sleepless nights. So one of those conversations that I had, and it was with a young man named Napoleon, he
Okay.
said, "Are you going to be a business owner or are you going to be self employed in your own business?" So up until that point, till I got punched in the throat,
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
I did not know. I did not know. So I thought this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm supposed to grind every day. I'm supposed to sit at this desk and I'm supposed to just work.
Right.
That's what I thought until he punched me in the throat. And
Yeah.
so once you're aware, yeah,
Right.
once you're
Yeah.
aware, it's like, man. So
Right.
now it's that climb. I got to get out of this. And just to mention my daughters, I talk to them a lot about what I went through, what I was going through,
Mm-hmm.
client problems, client issues. So they're not oblivious. They seen what I've gone through, the struggles I've had with clients, how happy I was to get clients, how I had to let clients go. So they seen all of that
Right.
and they understand it and they understood it. So for me in my business, I had like a little, it was a little chalkboard I went and got from the dollar store,
Right.
and I would write on the chalkboard what my schedule was that day, so they'll know when they can interrupt me. So if I was in a meeting, they couldn't interrupt me, but then they knew like, okay, she got a break between 1 and 2. All right, let me run down here, talk to her real quick, you know.
Right. Right.
So yeah, that was
That's
it.
that's an awesome system. I've got two girls, and I didn't think about that until just now. And I've got my wife,
Mhm,
of course, but man, no, yeah, I'm
mhm,
gonna have to put that system in place. Like when I'm recording, I'm gonna put a record sign or just a stop sign up so they'll leave me
mhm.
alone. Um,
Yep.
so yeah, it's funny you said that about Napoleon. I've actually met Napoleon. Shout out Napoleon. I was in a
Mhm.
course of his on Facebook marketing, and Napoleon will
Yes.
punch you in the throat quick when it comes to breaking
Yes.
stuff down to you.
Yes. Napoleon punching it. I was like,
Yep. Right. It's like, oh, oh, that hurt. Oh, that hurt.
right. You know
Right.
how you get the air knocked out of you? That's how I felt like,
Right.
oop.
Oh man. All right. So you've moved to Atlanta, and
hmm
all this stuff has gone down. Particularly with your girls, I find it really interesting when entrepreneurs have family members because I like to see the thought process goes behind when raising your kids and you're an entrepreneur. Did you
hmm
instill any of that entrepreneurship into your girls? And if so, how's that kind of come fruition? How'd you kind of figure out that that started to take effect with them?
Okay, so I tried to instill in my 17-year-old when she was still in school, like, listen, okay, you can't really sell things in school. Now let me tell you a story about her real quick. So
Okay,
when
go
I
for it.
worked at 9 to 5, I think she was an entrepreneur before I even knew it, but I worked at a hospital, right? And so
Okay,
I was able to take her to work with me. She was really small. And so, we had these shred bins that we
right,
would dump, we would have to dump, right?
right.
And so all the nurses would be like, "Oh, Diamond's here, Diamond dump, dump my shred bin," and they would like give her $1.
Oh, uh
Well,
oh.
her slick butt picked up on this and
Okay.
started trying to charge them $5 to dump the shred bin, right?
All right.
Then didn't do the work.
Oh no. Oh
Didn't
no.
do the work. So collected the money and didn't do the work. She was a hustler. I don't know what kind of entrepreneurship you call it. But yes, that she was like, I want to say 8 or 9
Wow.
when that happened.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
Wow.
but since then, I was trying to, give her the opportunity to see, like, listen, you can buy these different purses and
Mm-hmm.
thing. And she did say she wanted to do like a lip gloss line,
Mm-hmm.
but she's a high eye, so you know what happens with that. So if I'm not on her, it's
Mm-hmm.
just a bunch of ideas that never come to fruition. So,
Right.
and she doesn't like to work, so we're still working on her. But my middle daughter is a makeup artist,
Okay.
and she actually just flew back to Cleveland to do makeup this weekend. And
Oh, is
by
it like a
her being
competition?
here, huh?
It's a competition?
No, no.
Oh,
People need
she.
their makeup done.
Excuse me. Okay, keep going. I'm sorry.
I don't wear makeup, but so yeah, so that's her thing. That's her thing. And then also too, so it's rubbed off on her because she went and bought like a bunch of sunglasses.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Shade by Taylor J. She bought sunglasses, opened up her Shopify
Mm-hmm.
and put her sunglasses on Shopify and been selling them. Now she's 25. She was 25 when she was doing that. And so it's rubbed off on her because every idea is an entrepreneurial one. And you got to think, we come from entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
My mom did arts and crafts too. This is something I hardly ever talk about, but my mom did arts and crafts, and I never thought about it. Like, she's an entrepreneur too, because that's all she did. And she used to go do those craft shows, and I used to hate it because I didn't want to sit there bring people up and talk to people. But that's what I had to do, right? I had to do that before I started in the construction business. And
Right.
then that trickled down to my kids like, no, I had to do it. Y'all got to do it. So they come from entrepreneurs. My middle daughter is also an artist. So, oh, I took my hoodie off. She draws, she made a clothing line, but we just wear it. We
Right.
never did anything with it. So that's her. My
Mm-hmm.
oldest daughter is an event host. So they have like battle raps and stuff in Cleveland. And so she's like, her personality is like so super bubbly. So
Right.
she's a host in Cleveland for the I won't want to say, I guess I'll say hip hop scene or whatever, because
Yeah.
they're not doing battle raps anymore, but they do have like those artist shows and a lot of artist shows, fashion shows. So she
Right.
does hosting for that. So I can say it trickled off into them. And then I got a really long, nice letter from my 17-year-old, very high eye-ish, about how she's watched me and she's proud of who I've become. I mean, it was a text. It was like this long.
Oh man, she
About
sent
how
you a
she
whole
watched
novel.
me.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, she appreciates who I am and the struggles and who I become and how I run my business. So I'm just grateful that they're paying attention.
Right.
I want them to get into real estate.
Right.
So I told my daughter, like, don't do what I did. I wasn't listening either. I was hard headed
But
because
that's
I worked in
good.
real estate. I worked in real estate too.
Right.
And the guy that I was working with, he was like, listen, you need to get a two family and don't buy a single family as your first house. Buy a two family.
What?
And I'm sitting here with these three kids, like, I ain't buying no two family.
Oh,
Because I
the
didn't
bougie, the
see the
bougie in you
business.
came out. There was the bougie,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
bougie came
yeah,
out. Right.
yeah, yeah. Like Andre Norman called me Bougetto. The bougie ghetto. The bougie came out of me like, and it was stupid. Now I know, like, dang, that was stupid. But I could tell them, like, listen, don't do what I did, okay?
Right.
Make it make sense.
Right.
So they
Well,
listen. The oldest one don't listen, but the two youngest listen. You know, it's always one.
raise a child, raise a child in the way
Yeah,
they should go. They're gonna come back to it. Don't you sweat it. So let's.
yeah.
So I know I gotta be very respectful of your time. So I've got some more questions, but I'm
Oh
gonna
no,
try
I'm
not to
good.
go under
It's
45.
listen. It's Friday. I'm chilling.
Okay. All right. Cool. So let's. Here's what's really interesting to me recently. Your move that had to be a big decision for you.
Mhm.
What got you to the point where you were like, okay, here's the decision, and what made you choose to make that move to Atlanta?
Oh, I made a decision 3 years ago. I wasn't playing with that decision.
Oh,
So
okay.
when I
Because that.
told you, I said I'm moving to Atlanta as soon
Mm-hmm.
as she graduates. Every move I made up until there was for this. So I
Oh.
knew that this was, I wasn't playing. And it's so funny because my cousin is huge in the investment community down here, and she's a low S, right? So I called her last year, like, okay, now around this time, I'm moving. She like, a whole year? I'm like, yes. She, she like, no, no,
Right.
this is a year. I'm like, yes, come on, we gotta plan it out. And she's like, no. So we didn't plan it out, but she waited till we got here, like, okay, now, all right, I'm gonna build you a house and blah blah. I'm like, see, this idea should have came
Right.
a
Right.
year ago when I
Right.
called you. But no, I knew this was the move. I knew that this was the move just because of how I have been taken in and loved on from the community of
Right.
sleepless nights. I mean, it's called the morning meetup now, but when I joined it was sleepless nights.
Yep.
And every morning, that's been my process. I think I missed one because I overslept and I felt so bad. But um, this has been my life. Even the kids know, like 8 o'clock, she's on a call. And
Right.
so I can say to make the move, it was amazing for them to meet Dave in person. It was
Wow.
amazing. It was overwhelming for me. And it,
Wait.
it was
So
just amazing.
wait a second. So you've never met David in person? Are you
Mm-mm.
kidding me? For
I
real?
seen him in person one time when
Mm-hmm.
he came to Cleveland. This is how I found out about Sleepless Nights. So we
Okay.
really want to get into it.
Let's go.
My client that I was working with, I was a VA for my client,
Mm-hmm.
and she had an event with David. And so I came to the event, and of course, anytime anybody hears David speak, you're going to be like, oh my gosh,
He's
I
so
have
good.
to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
He's a
And
great
so
speaker.
he is an excellent speaker. And what he was saying was, I need you guys to sing your song and sing it over and over and over again. And so remember, I was doing everything. I was a virtual assistant. I was doing social media management. I was doing bookkeeping. I doing too much, right? And so I said, oh, I got to get into this community. So
Right.
I bought his 2 books, and then I joined
Mm-hmm.
Sleepless Nights. Now, yes, I saw him in person to buy the books, but I meant to ask him if he remembered. That is the very only time I seen him in person. Now, other than that, he knew me from being on Sleepless Nights and
Right.
um, putting his shoe in my chest too for having pulling up all them things. Talk about I'm a social media manager, bookkeeper, and a virtual assistant when I came on the call. So you know what that meant. I think I got kicked off to go do stuff too as well. So everything that everybody goes through right now, I've been through too. He didn't kick
What's
me off the call.
well,
Him and James being bet on me.
well, so in their defense though, you kick some people in the chest too. I'm on those calls. I'm in there listening.
Yeah,
Now I don't speak
yeah.
as much as I used to because it's a lot
Mhm,
going on now because the community's
mhm,
grown.
mhm.
But yeah,
Yes.
I remember David, David, David. You'll stop me in the middle of talking. David, David. Oh,
He
oh,
told me
sorry,
to do
sorry,
that.
Jen.
I'm like, Dave, that's so rude. He's like, no, Jen, you gotta stop me because I'm going to keep going.
Yep,
I'm
you're
like,
gonna
but
keep
it's so
going.
rude.
Right,
But yeah, no, and sometimes I get passionate because you hear my story. Like I've
right.
been where people are, and it's like you have to do the work.
Yeah, that's a
If
fact.
you don't do the work, you won't get anywhere.
Yep.
And every day, I remember I used to have a notebook. I still have it. And on Q&A day, oh, I had my list of questions. I had my list of questions.
That's a
I knew
high
who the
eye.
question was
That
for.
is 100%
I'm,
high eye.
I'm serious. I had my list. And then I knew who. So I would look like, okay, this is a Jose question.
Right,
Is Jose on? Because I want Jose to answer this. And
right.
then, oh, this is a Dave question. Yeah, no, I was very strategic and serious. And then I would go back and implement what they told me. And yeah, I would for real. And then I also not only just things to implement in my business, like if I was having issues, like a lot of times I was having issues with clients and it was me.
Right.
And so, they tell me like, no, that's you. You need to go back and figure out how to work that out.
Wow.
Mhm.
Wow. That's yeah. When your clients tell you that, that's tough. That's real tough.
No, the call told me that.
Really, on the call they told you
Yeah.
that.
Yes, so I would come and say, listen, my client such and such and such and such, blah 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 blah. And they was like, no, that's you. You need to go figure out how to work that out with your client. So and so, but this is what we need as entrepreneurs. We don't need people who are telling us, oh, it's okay. Oh yeah, they wrong. No, I need people around me who's going to tell me, nah, it's you. Because I want to be the best that I can be, and I want to provide the best service that I could provide. So if
Right.
it's me, then I want to know it's me so I can change that.
Wow.
Right. And
Right.
so a lot of times it was me, and I had to learn and grow, just like everybody else had to learn and grow.
So no, so listen. Normally I'll ask you three questions at the end of this thing, but because I don't want to ask you those questions right now, like I want us to keep talking, and we got like 4 or 5 minutes. I'm gonna ask you one hard question, the one hard question, and then
Mm-hmm.
I want to make sure we talk about a breakdown what the disc is because you're a disc assessment certified, right?
Certified, yes.
Right. So I'm gonna make sure I leave that in the show notes when we drop this episode, and I'll get that link from Jen, and I'll get the Sleepless Nights link, and I'll put that in this episode show notes as well. All right. So
Mm-hmm.
here's a hard question. Cut all that stuff out. What question do you wish you were asked more of when it comes to systems?
Oh,
Yeah. This is the
the
puncher
question.
question.
Well, not really, because I don't even want you to ask me questions. I just want you to do what you're supposed to do and continue to use the system you're supposed to use. The questions
Mm.
I wish that I'm asked
Mm-hmm.
is, if you don't understand something, if you don't, once we set it up and I send you the videos and you still don't understand, I don't want you to abandon that system and
Right.
then go back to your regular heathen ways because you because you can't figure it out. I
Right.
never want people to be where they can't figure it out. So I offer 30 days support after I set up a system. I want you to use that. I want people to ask me whatever question, just like I have an active campaign course, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ask me questions. I geek out on this stuff. I will pull up a Loom in my screen and show you step by step. If you don't
Right.
understand it till you understand it,
I
but
love
they
it.
don't ask.
Right.
So yeah, please, if you in my course, please go back through it and ask me questions. I had live Q&As.
Right.
I had only a couple people show up and ask me questions.
Mm-hmm.
I love the questions that I get from Ashley Schuler because she's like in the system, using it for her. She has a systems lab on Sundays, using it for that. I love that stuff. Ask me. That's what I
Right.
do.
I like it. I
So
like
yeah.
it. That's fantastic. All right, so we're gonna talk about. We got 3 minutes. We're gonna talk about the disc real quick. Then we're gonna end the
Mhm.
episode, and we're
Okay.
gonna talk a little bit more because I like talking to
Okay.
Jen. So, all right.
Okay.
So hit the disc, Jen. Go for it.
Okay. So for this though, now here's my thing. I only use disc for entrepreneurs. So
Well,
how I use it,
explain what disc is
yeah,
first, Jen. Yeah.
yeah, okay. So the disc assessment is, it's measuring your tendency and your abilities to perform. How do you naturally react? How do you naturally react in situations? So you hear me say I'm a high C. That means that I prefer procedures and protocols and
Mm-hmm.
rules. Um, and so each letter, you want me to break down what each letter mean?
No, no, no.
Or
Just,
just
just. Yeah, we'll
okay.
go. Yeah, we'll be
Yeah,
here
yeah,
all
yeah.
day. Go over to
Yeah,
Jennifer's
yeah,
first.
yeah, yeah. So no, the overall disc is just your preference for, oh gosh, the dog. Your
Don't worry about it.
preference
It's fine.
for how you naturally act, who you naturally are when you're naturally being you, and then who you are when you're under pressure or being observed.
Right.
That's what the disc is, measures
Awesome.
and
Awesome.
tells you
Awesome.
and helps you
All
with.
right. So we're gonna have to end here. But don't worry about it. I'm gonna bring Jen back on at some point when she's free and available. And once this COVID thing is really over and cleared up, I think I might take that trip out to Atlanta and knock down a good 5 or 6 interviews all in one day at the complex.
Awesome.
So with
Yes.
that said, Jen, how can people reach out to you? How can they get a hold of you? How can they get in touch with you for help and services?
Awesome. They can reach out to me at the Premier VA on all channels. But what they really can do is if they want to get started in systems, they can get my systems playbook at pvaplaybook.com. That's what I want you to do. You get that playbook and then you'll know how to get in touch with me because it's in the playbook. But that's going to take you from A to Z in how to get started in systems and automations.
Fantastic. All right, you guys can reach me at the Oliver Perry at IG. Also, the Oliver Perry on Facebook, the Oliver Perry 38 on TikTok, and Oliver Perry on LinkedIn. I'm everywhere. I'm everywhere, Jen. I'm out here in these streets. So I've been Oliver Perry. This has been Jenifer J. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Jenifer, thank you so much for coming on. This has been an absolute pleasure. We're definitely gonna get you back on. And all right, everybody, you guys have enjoy your day, whatever time it is, wherever you're at, and I'll see you next time.